Okay, this video shouldn't be too long. This is another biography slash memoir pairing. Today is Ghost in the Wires by Kevin Mitnick and Permanent Record by Edward Snowden. These books come up not too often, but often enough in my day-to-day job that I thought I should read them this year. If you're in the tech space, I know you know who they are, but also if you're not, I'm sure you probably still know who these guys are. But anyways, we're going to get started in the order that I read them. So I'm going to start with Ed Snowden first. So first of all, if you don't know who he is, he worked in cybersecurity with the NSA through as a contractor and some other things, but he was a whistleblower during a lot of stuff that had to deal with surveillance and all that stuff that had to do with the NSA and people's right to know about it. This book was interesting. I don't know what I expected when I went into it. I knew it would be like some kind of air about it because I'm not even going to say that. I don't know what I expected when I went into it. But once I actually started, there was an air about it. Like, he was like the smartest guy, the smartest kid, like hacking through, what should have been secure portals just by doing like pretty like script kiddie type stuff or like doing basic things. But at the time, he was like just really hyping up what he was doing as a child, a preteen, and a teenager, and on up. And then there was a lot of backlash. I remember, like in actual news, where people were saying that he was kind of promoting himself above what he actually did in the NSA. But I'm not going to comment on all that. I don't know what this man actually did. I only know what he said he did in his book. And a lot of what he said he did, the story overall, I think I found interesting. I appreciated the love interest between him and his wife and how he talked about his relationship with his mom and stuff like that. I don't know what I wanted. Let me be honest. When I first picked up this book, I wanted to be in the know. People at work would be talking about this book. They would mention things with Ed Snowden and NSA and all this and that, surveillance and things like that, counterintelligence. And I'm like, okay, well, let me just see what this book is about. Like, I'm a reader. Y'all are constantly discussing these two books. So my first thing was, let me read it so I can be informed. I want to be in the know. If you ask me a question about it, my opinion, I want to be able to give it to you. I want to be able to say, yeah, I read that book. That's what I went into this book with that intention right there. And I got a good story. His dealings with how he ended up in Russia and things like that was pretty interesting to know, especially like when he talked about going undercover and doing like some different kind of ops. But it was interesting. I don't know how much we actually got of the story. I'm not gonna comment on that. Who knows? But I did think it was interesting that he shared like what his plan was at the end of it all and why he did what he did, essentially. It was interesting. I read it. I now know. Yeah, let me read the synopsis if you don't know. In 2013, 29-year-old Eric Snowden shocked the world when he broke with the American intelligence establishment and revealed that the United States government was secretly pursuing the means to collect every single phone call, text message, and email. The result would be an unprecedented system of mass surveillance with the ability to pry into the private lives of every person on Earth. 6 years later, Snowden reveals for the very first time how he helped to build this system and why he was moved to expose it. Spanning the beltway suburbs of his childhood and the clandestine CIA and NSA postings of his adulthood, this book is the extraordinary account of a bright young man who grew up online, a man who became a spy, a whistleblower, and an exile. The internet's conscience, written with wit, grace, and passion. Okay, yeah. It was kind of cool seeing like why he first became interested in tech. Kind of cool to see his progression through the space. Cool to see when he got his first big break, where his first initial passions lied in this field. That was cool to see, and I could appreciate it. A lot of what he was talking about, I thought was interesting. Yeah, he might have hyped himself up here or there. I don't know. It's just kind of how it came off, but I did find the book interesting enough. I'm not gonna say I regret reading it. I don't have many takeaways from it. I could say I read it if I'm at work and somebody asks me about it. I could say I read it and I have like my opinions on it. We can kind of talk about it and stuff like that. But that is the first book of this pair. And the reason that it's paired with this is because the second book, Ghost in the Wires, is Kevin Mitnick's memoir, essentially. And if you don't know who Kevin Mitnick is, is a very famous and was probably regarded as the most famous hacker at one point in time. So let me just read this synopsis for you. By the way, y'all, I bought this book. Let me show you. It is literally signed by Kevin. He's no longer alive, so that was pretty cool to see. But anyways, here we go. Kevin Mitnick was the most elusive computer break-in artist in history. He had accessed computers and networks at the world's biggest companies, and no matter how fast the authorities were, Mitnick was faster. Sprinting through phone switches, computer systems, and cellular networks, as the FBI's net finally begins to tighten, Mitnick went on a run, engaging in an increasingly sophisticated game of hide and seek that escalated through false identities, a host of cities, and plenty of close shaves, with the ultimate showdown with the feds, who would stop at nothing to bring him down. Ghost in the Wires is a thrilling true story of intrigue, suspense, and unbelievable escapes, and a portrait of a visionary who forced the authorities to rethink the way they pursued him. This book was very exciting. Mitnick is like, the way this book was written was like, look, I'm better than you. I know what I'm doing. You can't catch me. And the only reason you caught me is because of XYZ, like these people. This book, that how I said Edward Snowden book had an air about it, this book had an air about it. He was very much like full of himself, rest his soul, very much. But it was like, it was interesting because it was this constant like the synopsis said, it was like hide and seek, back and forth, like tag you're it. I'm gonna one up you. What I found interesting though is through all of his freaking, which is, you know, like with the phone systems or whatever, through all of that, all of his like social engineering, through everything, he always like he kept reiterating how he was only doing it for the thrill of doing it. At one point, he'd even said that when he was getting, I guess, diagnosed or whatever, that they actually called it, like they actually told the judge that he was really doing it for the thrill of it. There was no financial gain. There was no any other like thing that was going on that was inherently malicious. I just wish, because he always said like he didn't have any actual victims, nobody was getting hurt. The people that he put in those positions, like when he was calling these places, getting their information, doing this, doing that, actually like successfully social engineering these people and getting into these systems and stuff like that, using other people's, racking up their phone bills and stuff like that. He's acting like everything he did was a victimless crime. And sir, it was not. Like, I'm not saying it was like, it might not have been to the extent that they were trying to prosecute you for, but there were actual victims. There was actual damage, not to mention your poor, poor grandma. Wasn't that your grandma? Let me make sure it was your grandma, not your mama. Hold on. Yeah, my mom and Graham. Your mama and your grandma, they went through it behind you. Like the situations that you put them in, I can imagine like every time they phone rang, their heart dropped. And so like, yeah, it makes for a good book. But I think about like in real life, when he was really writing this book, he was acting like he really did nothing wrong, just trying to have a good time. And it's like, that's not what I got from this. Like, you was tripping. Yeah, you was tripping. Anyways, neither one of these books went into like super technical detail. I think Kevin Mitnick's book went more into detail with like the technicalities and talking about like different systems he used and some scripts that he used and stuff like that to actually hack into the system. But most of what Kevin Mitnick did, from what I could tell, was more so like social engineering and like doing some switching and stuff like that. But I found both of them interesting. I found Kevin's book more interesting just because it was like more fast paced and more action based. Ed's book was like, I think him trying to clear his conscience. They were both good. Both books that I constantly hear talked about when I'm at work. So I wanted to read them just in case I gotta give my 2 cents. Like, what y'all say? Let me tell you what I think about that. But yeah, I thought they were both interesting, both good. If you read these, let me know what you think. And if it's not something you'll read, like I get it. I probably wouldn't have read these if I didn't work in this field. I wouldn't have read these either. But I did because I wanted to be able to talk about it at work with people. So that's the reason I read these. And then, maybe give it a try. If you don't know if you should read these, I would say read Kevin's book first, just because it's like fast paced, like a thriller almost. It's more action packed. It's a lot of like mouse and cat chasing and a lot of things like that. So, and it's a little humorous. He has like some witty things in here. So I feel like if you're on the fence about either, probably check out Kevin Mitnick's book first. But yeah, y'all, that's it. I just wanted to do this quick video just to knock out this biography/memoir pair. I love putting books together like this because it's like y'all related for real. But all right then, y'all. See ya.